today. Imagine, if you would, for a moment, you're 7 years old and going back to school for the first time in almost 6 months. You know everything is different out there, even if you don't understand why. You wave goodbye to your mom as you walk into this new normal school by yourself, and you take a deep breath in hopes you still get to play with your friends. You are marched single file down the hall with one-way arrows while being told to keep your distance from your friends. You see your teacher, and she tries to smile, but her smile is hidden behind a mask. Her eyes look so sad, and you start to feel sad. You do not like not being able to see your teacher smile. You're asked to sanitize your hands again before sitting down at your desk. You reach into your backpack because you're thirsty, only to find that you don't have your water bottle. You raise your hand and ask your teacher if you may get a drink of water from the water fountain. The teacher tries to smile again and says, "I'm sorry, but there are no water fountains. They're no longer safe to use." But you're thirsty. You're so thirsty. You ask if you can call your mom to bring you a new water bottle, and you're told, "I'm sorry, but your mom is not allowed to come to the school." You're thirsty. You just want a drink of water. You spend all day without a drop of water because of these protocols happening within Alberta schools in the name of safety. This prevented you, a 7-year-old child at an Edmonton area public school, from having access to clean drinking water all day. This is just one of the many stories I have heard from concerned parents since the return of in-person classes. The time to fight for our children is now. Our children are depending on us. My name is Ilea O'Clair. I represent a group of Citizens United to protect the freedom of Alberta's children. We are a team of parents who have come together to fight for the rights of our future, of our children's future. A future that has been overtaken by government oversteps on so many levels. The provincial government has mandated masks for all students grade 4 through 12 without a single COVID-19 related death in the age group of 0 to 19 across all of Canada. They mandated masks for all students kindergarten through 12 on buses without a single safety study being conducted. Besides this, schools and school boards are still going above these recommendations and making their own rules independent of authority and necessity. Today, we fight for all students at Elk Island and Grand Prairie Public Schools, where they have mandated masks at all times for all students, kindergarten through grade 12. Today, we stand and fight for the student that called her mom in tears because she had accidentally dropped her mask on the floor, and school policy dictated that she was to wear her dirty, contaminated mask and walk down an empty hallway to call her mom and ask for a clean mask. The time has come to demand better for our children and expose the blatant human rights violations happening within Alberta schools. Students are being segregated and bullied within their classrooms based on mask exemptions and disabilities that prevent them from wearing masks. Classrooms have fought so hard to keep these detrimental and long-term damages at bay, and these are classrooms we used to trust. Today, we stand with the type 1 diabetic from the Calgary French Immersion School, who has researched masks for himself, discovered his own personal health risks, has provided medical exemption forms to the schools, and is still being forced to wear a mask all day. Today, we stand with the grade 9 student with cerebral palsy, whose parents were told the only way that their daughter would receive an education as well as a mask exemption was to have her segregated and alone in a separate room, treated as though she is a danger to others and caged like an animal. The psychological effects this is having on our children is profound. All of this is happening right here in Alberta in the name of safety and health. Our health officials are failing us. They are failing our children. They are refusing to hear the cries and pleas of parents from all across our province. They are allowing a grade 1 student to come home from school having soiled himself because they are limiting bathroom breaks. They are allowing teachers to become psychological abusers by telling our children that they will kill or infect someone because they are not wearing a mask. Masking and other abuses caused by fear are shaping our children's world into a place where they can no longer feel free, safe, and carefree as children should be. These measures of abuse have teachers yelling at first cousins in Calgary public schools about needing to social distance and wear masks around each other while on school grounds. Our teachers, our school boards, and the teachers' unions are failing us. They are failing our children. There have been 0 studies conducted that masking our children for extended periods of time is safe or that it will not hinder proper lung growth. Today we stand with the daughter who came home with a rash on her face because she was forced to wear her mask outside during recess and lunch. Today, we fight for the 6-year-old from Edmonton Catholic School Board who spent the weekend with a bacterial infection from having to wear a mask all day.
Stupid.
Alberta's own education website states that students, parents, and school authorities alike have responsibility for ensuring welcoming, caring, respectful, and safe learning environments. A learning environment that respects diversity and nurtures a sense of belonging and a positive sense of self. How is it then that when a grade 11 St. Albert student confided to her friend that her mother had passed away, both students were reprimanded for not socially distancing while they comforted each other? Where has the humanity gone? How many of these abuses are too many? When will we have had enough? How many children must suffer for us to understand that these restrictions are having detrimental and long-term negative side effects? When will this government, our elected officials, start listening to us, parents of Alberta? We have compiled 5 open letters addressed to our health officials, Premier Kenney, our elected officials, the Alberta Teachers Association, Alberta school boards, and every letter has gone unanswered and ignored. Countless stories like what I have just shared today are being silenced. They're falling on deaf ears in the name of preventing the spread. I stand before you today as we unite in this fight to unmask our children, to restore their freedom of association with their peers, and to advocate for all of them so they no longer need to live in a world of fear. Please, I'm asking to join us at the Facebook page, Protecting the Freedom of Alberta Children. Our voices must be heard, and we will never stop fighting for the children. We know many of you are very angry, that you're sad, and that you're worried and scared that our children are being put into this position. We need to come together now. We need to be heard, and we must lead by example to show our most vulnerable population, the children of tomorrow, that the only way to overcome this tyranny is to stand up against it. Woo! We are asking to join us now to put a call to action out to all Alberta parents, your friends, your family, your neighbors, and your colleagues, and ask them to speak out. Our Facebook page is filled with letters to be sent to all elected officials, including Dr. Hinshaw, as well as the Teachers Association and Alberta school boards. We must make our voices heard to end this tyranny and control over our children. The children of today are our leaders of tomorrow. We must empower our children to stand up now before it's too late and end this tyranny that they are experiencing every day. Thank you. Protecting the freedom of Alberta children.
Protecting the freedom of Alberta children. Protecting the freedom of Alberta children. Facebook group. Thank you, Aaliyah. All right. Thank you all for coming again. So nice to see all these freedom-loving faces out there. Well, another week of rising case counts and fear-mongering by the public health officials within Alberta and beyond. On October 7th, the province of Alberta reported the results of 25,000 tests. By far the single most test results reported in any day so far. Is it any surprise that increased testing results in higher case counts? We supposedly stopped testing asymptomatic people, yet the number of tests run seems to be increasing every day. The logical conclusion is that people are running their furnaces and drying out the air in their homes and workplaces, stirring up the dust in their ductwork. They are getting the seasonal sniffles. These sniffles mean they get sent home from work or school and must be tested. Do any of these people actually have COVID? We will never know. We do know that the case counts are higher. The hospitalizations have remained more or less stable. The largest peaks in COVID hospitalizations in Alberta were on April 30th, with 90 cases in hospital, and July 22nd, with 91 cases in hospital. As of October 8th, we have 86 COVID patients in hospital. The government entered phase 1 of reopening in mid-May. They then continued to phase 2 reopening in June. So at the first peak in hospitalizations, we were reopening, not closing. The second larger peak in hospitalizations came after phase 2 reopening, and we continued on with reopening with no additional provincial restrictions. What changed? The only thing that has changed is the number of tests being run each day. Why would Hinshaw enact voluntary measures in Edmonton when in reality things are no worse than they were in July? This This has nothing to do with the virus. It's only a ploy to keep you separated from your family and loved ones over Thanksgiving. They don't want dinner table discussions, or the truth might start to get out. That's why Halloween is allowed. You can trick or treat or costume party because no serious discussions will be held at this type of event. It's a party. You must not be allowed to gather in any setting where a serious discussion might take place. This is why the restrictions are so harsh on churches. Sure, the churches have been allowed to quote-unquote reopen, but very few people bother to attend. They have essentially broken the legs of the church. They castrated the church. Even if the pastors decided to speak against this tyranny now, nobody would listen to them. Would someone please explain to me how handshaking is against the law, but you can play contact sports? Would someone please explain to me how it is illegal to sing in a choir, but you could body check your opposing teammates at a hockey game? Kids can't have band class, but martial arts and dance classes are fine? You have got to be joking. Are we really this stupid? Are Canadians really this gullible? If this is the case, this country is doomed. And there are so many useful idiots willing to do Hinshaw's bidding. Parents are being continuously lied to. They spend hours jumping through hoops trying to get mask exemptions for their children with legitimate health concerns, only to have the child's instructor peer pressure them into wearing it continuously anyways. The kids come home from school and are now pressuring parents into mask wearing now. And we just sit back and let it happen. If we don't stand up now, this will never go away. These tyrants will keep pushing further and further as we watch this country turn into a third world nation all around us. If you know this is wrong and won't risk friendships to spread the truth, you are the problem. We can blame government all we want, but the reality is this is on us, the people. We voted for these clowns. They are screwing us, and we are tolerating it, and enabling it through our silence. The people have chosen not to speak. By choosing not to speak, they are selling themselves and their children into slavery. The time has come to hold our governments accountable. Everyone needs to use every tool at their disposal. Every social encounter needs to be used to spread the truth. Yes, you will lose friends. Does it even matter anymore? Yes, family members will hate you. When you are facing enslavement, does it matter if members of your family hate you? Go explain that to a Holocaust survivor. Look them in the eyes and tell them how important your family relationships are. The most important thing we can all do today is spread the truth about this COVID-19 fraud. When enough people wake up, the government will back down, and quickly. As far as I'm concerned, this is the only realistic solution. All of these other solutions touted by all these different groups are nothing but smoke and mirrors designed to take you out of this fight. First it was Q. Just sit back and let Trump handle everything. Now it's the common law scam. Just sit back and listen to your new messiah. He has a plan so complicated that you can only understand it by watching days worth of endless YouTube videos. Oh, and he needs your money too. These people are snake oil salesmen. They deal in nothing but false hope and anarchy. They push sedition. As far as I'm concerned, they are no better than Antifa, and both groups lead to the same place. Anarchy. For any of this stuff to be successful, there is most certainly a bloody revolution in the middle. This process would take decades. By then, Canada as we know it will be gone forever. So those of you who want group unity, unite behind the cause of spreading the truth about the COVID-19 fraud. We need your friends and neighbors. We need your pastors. We need our teachers. We need anybody who secretly knows the truth to start spreading it. Once the fire is lit, it will spread. Together we can ignite the flames of liberty. We can spread the flames of liberty across this great nation from corner to corner. This COVID-19 scam is built on nothing but vapors and lies. Expose the fraud for what it is, and we win this overnight. Use this weekend to spread the truth. Discuss politics at the dinner table. Anger your relatives. The price is worth it. Our freedom is at stake. The time for being nice is over. Now we must forego niceness for kindness. The truth hurts, but it is kind. We will all have better lives if people are brought into the truth. to invite Karen up now to speak. Welcome, Karen.
Thanks everybody for coming yet again today to listen to another round of speeches from some amazing people. I just want to personally thank Ilea for coming today.
Thank you, Karen.
You have no idea how hard that lady and her team have worked on the school issue, and without her, none of us would be where we are today, and our kids, I'm going to be really honest with you, wouldn't have a snowball's chance in hell against what they're dealing with today. So a huge round of applause, please, for everybody for Ilea. In my dim and distant past, I was a teacher in the UK. After we came to Canada, I wasn't in front of a desk anymore, but I was always in the classroom as a parent helper and was highly involved in my girls' learning. What is happening now in schools with mask enforcement, social distancing, chemical cleansing, and everything that relates to the protocols in place for this virus is what parents and educators should really be questioning. What we as children read as fiction is now all our Orwellian reality. I remember my own teachers. They were fonts of knowledge. Their role as educators expanded far beyond their specialties. As a newly qualified teacher, my mentors were incredible. They taught me to question policy and procedure at every level and always do my own research. I put that into practice in my classroom. I provided my students with a safe place to learn to share their thoughts, the tools to develop deep into all aspects of English, my chosen subject, and the confidence to question everything that didn't make sense to them. Debate in our staff meetings was fierce. Tempers often flared. But our common goal of what was in the best interests of our students demanded that we were all able to speak out freely and without fear of retribution. I can't imagine what it would be like for me to teach in a Canadian school or even an English school today. I don't honestly think I could. In the global current crisis, all balanced debate has been erased. I watched it firsthand in the care home with my mom, and I knew that come September the same thing would happen in schools. Staff and parents are fearful. This in turn translates into fearful students, just as Ilea was mentioning. Rules are being followed without question. A dear friend recently said to me, "I've always been a rule follower until the rules don't make sense." Teachers and healthcare professionals are at the most critical juncture ever in their careers. The choices they make today will have consequences that they cannot begin to comprehend for tomorrow. They will have to answer for those choices, choices that have and continue to impact the most vulnerable like no other profession. It is not enough to blindly follow rules. It's not enough to be ill-informed. It's not enough to act out of fear. A vocational calling demands so much more. Teachers are guardians whose role it is to protect and advocate for those in their care. Those are the true victims of this crisis. It won't be enough to fall back on the Nuremberg defense and say, "We were just following orders." The Machiavellian mandates imposed by the powers that be, stifling life as we know it on the pretext of the end justifies the means, are already being challenged in courts across the world. The truth will out. We have all been sold a false bill of goods for the greater good. I firmly believe that what is happening to our children in Canadian schools and our loved ones in care homes as a result of the measures in place is the worst abuse ever perpetrated on innocents. Rocco Galati, even spoken or written. In essence, Galati states, meaningful connection is gauged from intuition and perception, body language, most of it facial language. If the masking of children continues in schools, there is no question that we will see an exponential rise in developmental handicaps in human language. Children will not understand how to perceive affection, a joke, sarcasm, the entire range of human emotion. When facial expression is removed, over 2/3 of language is gagged. I know this from interactions with my mother, who has additional challenges with communication after a global aphasic stroke left her unable to talk. Interactive and intuitive body language, most of which is facial, is suppressed when masks are worn. Masks become an instrument of dehumanization. We are stunting human language, blocking human communication and connection. I watched a mother in our local clinic trying to soothe her crying baby. The agony of both was palpable and heartbreaking. She turned to me in tears. It was everything that I could do not to intervene. I ended up leaving the clinic and I missed my appointment. Face-to-face engagement is how we relate to other people. To truly learn, we have to live, laugh and love. Without the latter, learning is lost. In the words of probably one of the world's greatest teachers that ever lived, Albert Einstein, I never teach my pupils, I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn. In a previous speech, I referenced the Toronto Children's Hospital for Sick Kids, who wrote an excellent document for back-to-school guidelines. A new document was released July 29th, which has a whole host of other contributors in addition to Toronto Hospital for Sick Kids. Sadly, there is now a slant towards endorsing the restrictions, but it does go into great detail about the number of issues, many of which Ilea has already mentioned, particularly with regard to masking, where the experts of this report could not agree, and scientific evaluation of the efficacy of masks is sorely lacking. There is also great information on children who, for any number of reasons, should be exempt. It is 34 pages and well worth reading. We know that both the initial response to COVID-19 and ongoing restrictions are being questioned behind closed doors in the political, healthcare, education and legal arenas. David and I are hearing it daily. Many are speaking out. I ask all professionals to make sure you're on the right side of history. Voice your concerns. Open and honest debate is what we all deserve. And to the public, when the rules don't make sense, you have a right to ask questions and to have answers that do make sense. Alea's speech was really wonderful. She touched on all of the things that matter to our children and to parents in Alberta. But I've been asked another question from parents. What do we do to support our children in school? As an ex-teacher, parent, and now grandparent, trust me, you have more power to create change than you imagine. Firstly, Dina Hinshaw's orders are being widely interpreted, first by the school boards, then by the schools, and then by the teachers. It's almost like a game of Chinese whispers. The result is that there's no consistency or confidence for anyone, especially the students. My good advice is get together with a group of parents and look hard at the orders. Then see how the schools are deviating from those orders. Call the schools out at every turn. At drop-off and pick-up, take the time to talk to other parents. Share your concerns. You would be amazed how many parents are actually supportive of your opinion, but too afraid just to speak out. Connect and share contact details with like-minded families. Whenever you have an opportunity, go into the school. Meet your child's teacher in person if possible. Sign up for volunteer positions like lunch supervision so you can see what's actually happening in the schools. Join parent councils where your voice will actually make a difference. And probably the most important, talk to your child every day about how they feel. There has never been a more important time to be engaged in your child's life outside of the home. Remember, you're your child's advocate, their staunchest ally. Don't hesitate to be their voice if you have any concerns about their physical or emotional well-being. Question everything that doesn't make sense. And as Ilea and Josh both pointed out, model by example. Where you go fearlessly, your child will follow.